3, 2, 1.
All right, we are here with my dad currently, and it's Father's Day, so thank you so much for, bringing me into this earth and all this great things, and we're glad to have you here, man.
Thank you, Alex. Glad to be here, and I look forward to doing some of the episodes with you, with Faith Guys, and talking about how our faith makes us stronger and helps people like you guys out there that may be struggling, but also to celebrating God and celebrating this great day. So
Yeah, most definitely. So where shall we begin?
Well, I think it's important. We were talking about the idea that mindfulness, and you've talked about this on your channel, mindfulness is so important every day. Every day we wake up and we have thoughts that are racing through our heads. And those thoughts sometimes can really overpower us in terms of how we look at our day. Mm-hmm. And a couple of things. One, that is being mindfulness of changing those thoughts and doing what we need to do to make sure that we don't have racing thoughts all the time.
Right.
It's important to meditate. We talked about spirituality.
Mm-hmm.
We're very strong Christians, so for us it's about bringing God into our prayer.
Right.
And trying to keep the devil out of what we're doing. We really have to be spiritual warriors, and we're trying to slay the devil every single day because he is trying to attack us, our thoughts and our feelings every single day in what we're doing. Mm-hmm. So I think it's important as Christians that we understand that it's very important to pray. And you even taught me this: pray aloud.
Yeah.
I think just praying out loud and saying your prayers and pray big.
Right.
So. Yeah.
No, I think you're right on the money there, because with prayer everything is possible. And like I saw a thing, basically it shows that from neuroscience and neuropathological things in your brain, if you pray for 12 minutes a day, it actually has proven facts for 8 weeks that it actually helps, and it actually stimulates all these thoughts in your brain, because when you can talk to God, when you can basically tell him how you're feeling, casting all your anxieties, casting all your fear onto him, because as humans we can't handle all of this. We can't handle all of these, because the thing is, life is always going to throw us things. There's going to be bad things that happen, and the question is, what are we going to do in those bad things? Because often we have a victim mentality where we're like, oh my gosh, this sucks, God, why are you doing this to me? Why is all these things happening to me? And we never actually get to the root of the problem. Okay, yes, these things are happening. God is putting me through these storms. But why is God putting me through the storms? Sometimes it can be the way of life. Sometimes it can be things where it's just like you cannot control. But in the midst of those storms, God is always strengthening us. And there's always a lesson that we can learn, because as you say, we can be warriors. We can put on the armor of God. We can have the sword, hypothetically or metaphorically, and we can basically conquer it. We can conquer these battles. We can conquer these storms, and that's so important. It's so beautiful. So I think when we can just lean on God's word and God's promise, what God tells us, and then lean on what our brain is telling us, the enemy and the devil trying to attack us. I mean, which one sounds better? Peace with God or suffering with the devil?
Yeah. Amen.
Yeah,
it's important to reset those thoughts and really know exactly what you're trying to do that. I think one of the things too that we have to think about, I don't know about you in life, and it's kind of deep to say this, but it's about, I read a book that was assigned to me when I was in college many years ago, and it was a book called A Leader's Legacy, written by Jim Cowses and Barry Posner. And the book really talks about, these are two professors that are very experienced in leadership development. They teach at Santa Clara University in California. And when students come into their business class, they ask two questions that I think are very important about our life and our spirituality when you think about legacy building. And that question is, these two questions are this: Alex, are you on this planet to do something, or are you on this planet to have something to do? Mm-hmm. Are you on this planet to do something, or are you on this planet to have something to do? And I think it's important to understand when you start to, you don't have to have the answer right away. It's more of a rhetorical question for reflection. But once you start to explore that and ruminate more about that as you journey through your life in this spiritual warfare that we're facing, you build a legacy of God. You build a legacy that's going to relate to everything you do in life is motivated by serving God and Jesus Christ. And I think it's important to understand, what is that legacy going to be in terms of that. I think it's important to make sure that we understand that it's going to be a hard journey. It's going to be times where you feel very alone, but you're never alone when we have God.
Yeah, I think that's so important too, because it's so easy for us to be like, oh, well, today's going to be a hard day, so I'm not going to get out of bed. I'm just going to lay in bed all day. I'm just going to basically, sorrow, live in sorrow and be sad. And that's a thing that I'm starting to realize too, because whenever you bring it back to the leader's legacy, we are put here. God has given us a beautiful purpose, a beautiful purpose for us to go and pursue. But sometimes we waste our potential because we don't either believe in ourselves, or we don't believe that we can do these certain things, and we don't put that belief into ourselves, because it all does fall in the belief system. Okay, well, what does God say about me? How can I pursue this? And how can I honor God while I'm pursuing this? Because we can go after our own fleshly desires. We all want materialistic things. We want a nice house, a nice car, nice beautiful things, and that's okay. That's perfectly okay, but I think when we come to realize that it's not going to be ours in the end, and the thing is, like, you can talk to the most successful people, and they will tell you that money never bought their happiness. Money never bought their happiness. You can have all the women, you can have all the cars, whatever, all the money, but in the end, when you have a very empty feeling in your heart, and when you're missing Jesus Christ and God, you will understand you will not feel fulfilled. The only fulfillment of peace and love comes from God, and that's it. We can chase after society. We can chase after what the devil wants to give us. We can chase after and live for the world. But when we're living for the world and our fleshly desires, we will never be genuinely happy. Well, and why is that? It's because we're not connected with God. We're not connected with our spirituality. We're not connected to God's word and God's promise. I think that's so beautiful, but I think just what you were saying about the leader's legacy, it's like, you have two options. You can either get up and do it, because, like, obviously it's much easier to give up and quit, and it's much harder to keep going. But then whenever you get to that certain destination, because that's the thing, it's not about the destination. It's about the journey. It's about the journey. It's about the trial and tribulations. It's about messing up. It's about failing every single time. It's about being broken. But then you're being built up through this process, and God is guiding you through this process. So in the end, it was never about the destination. And that's us as humans. We're always evolving. We don't know everything. And I think when we can come to terms that we're not perfect, we're always learning, we're always striving to be better, we're always evolving, that's a beautiful thing.
It really is. And I think one of the things that is important is that to remind people and remind us is that it takes courage to be a human being. It takes courage to live a life. Some of the teachings that's very powerful in a leader's legacy that I think really align nicely with what's God and what we're talking about today is a value system, is understanding, everyone is significant. You're significant. Everyone's significant in this life. And that a true leader is one who follows God. Now, the book's not talking about that. Let me be very specific about that. The book is not addressing a spirituality component. We're taking that for our own channel. Is to say, oh, you know what? For this episode, this is how it relates to what we believe spiritually, there's a point in the book that the two authors make that I think is very powerful, and it's something about American history, and that is a formula: I times CV equals RPM. I times CV equals RPM. And what that means is initiative times core values equals RPM. And I'm going to talk about RPM in a second, but I'll set it up for us. So basically, it's December 1955, and a woman is extremely tired. She's worked all day, and her only mode of transportation is taking the city bus. And she decides to get on this city bus called the Cleveland Bus Company in Montgomery, Alabama. And basically, she's in the midsection of the bus. And the bus driver is picking up more people on the route. And in the route, as people are getting on the bus, he stops the bus. He goes back to the lady and says, hey, I'm going to have you get out of your seat and go sit in the back of the bus, because I need to have all these seats for white people. Now, we all know through history, this was a phenomenal lady that really changed the civil rights movement Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. once said, and I'm paraphrasing his quote, said that what Rosa Parks did in December of 1955 was the birth of getting traction for the civil rights movement in the United States to help eradicate racism. Now, we know it didn't eradicate it, unfortunately, but it did send a message that this is not right. And what causes in Posner say in A Leader's Legacy is that when you have initiative times core values equals a Rosa Parks moment. Another acronym for RPM is revolutions per minute. And we know through physics and revolutions per minute, it's momentum. So what they're saying is, and I think how this translates to what we're talking about today, and for those of our viewers, is talking about you're going to have some Rosa Parks moments. You're going to have some moments metaphorically when you're sitting there, someone's telling you, hey, you need to get out of your seat and move. And you're going to say, no, I don't need to do that, because the message of God and the message of our faith is we're going to sit down when we need to sit down, and we're going to be steadfast and make sure that we're doing all the things we can, because initiative, what we do, our core values as Christians and as people of faith is saying, no, that's not right. We're not going to do that. And then revolutions per minute, Rosa Parks moment. We're going to have those moments. So that's a little lengthy, but I wanted to share that with you because I think it's important to know that we're going through this journey and we're battling every single day, that if we just sometimes sit down when everybody's asking us to stand and we know it's the right thing to do, and it's going to be, it's going to be painful. It can be physically painful and emotionally painful.
Yeah. But
we're going to sit down.
Wow. Yeah. And that's something that we just have to do, because as Christians, whenever we are pursuing Christ, whenever we are actually pursuing Jesus Christ, it's hard being a Christian. This is something that nobody talks about a lot, because it's hard pursuing Christ, because you can't gossip about people. We're sinners, we're going to sin, we're going to make mistakes, but it's like you have to live by law. You have to live by these values. And sometimes it's hard living by those values, but it's not impossible. Because whenever we can love people in the eyes of Jesus and see how Jesus saw people, that's a very beautiful thing. Spreading kindness, giving back to your community, basically being the light to somebody's darkness, because we live in such an evil world. I mean, when I'm at the gym, because I don't really get put in very political, but when I'm looking at the TV, someone's dying, someone's shooting up a school, somebody's just doing the absolute craziest things. I'm like, man, this world just needs God. But the thing is, it's never going to change, because people don't want to change. People don't want to do this because it's hard, and they don't understand it, and that's okay. It's okay, but man, when I'm just seeing all this evilness, it's like, man, we really need God. And God loves every single one of us. But sometimes we just can't accept that. When we're living for the world, whenever we're kind of stuck in that worldly mindset, okay, I'm gonna go out and party, I'm gonna go out and do all these things, and break myself down and lose myself. Like, God sees that. He sees that, and he wants us to come to him during those times. Like, I'll give you an example. Like, when I was partying all the time, whenever I was doing all those dumb stuff, getting in trouble, getting arrested and stuff, I just felt so empty. I felt so empty, and I never knew why. I was so angry at the world. I had so much hatred. So I get what it's like to have hatred towards people and hatred towards the world, but man, it just fills your heart with bitterness. It fills your heart with bitterness and uncertainty. It's so easy to gossip about people. It's so easy to go out and hook up with people. It's so easy to go out and live for our own fleshly desires. But when we can be obedient to God and understand the law of God and understand what he's trying to practice and whatever he's trying to preach to us, it's such a beautiful thing. So
it really is, and I hope the viewers understand that the passion that you and I feel for our Christian values is really understanding God's ultimate sacrifice. He gave Jesus Christ, his son, to the world. And look what we did to Jesus Christ. And Jesus Christ stood for everything. The Son of God helped the poor, surrounded himself by the poor, and the Romans crucified him. And what we know from that is that, think about these words. What's it mean to be passionate about something in your life? What's it mean to be passionate? Well, the Latin derivative of the word passion means suffrage. So to be a leader in Christ, to walk in the shoes of Jesus Christ and be obedient to God, you have to understand that to do that, we have to make sure that we are passionate about what we're talking about today. And not just talking about it on a podcast or an episode, talking about it when no one's looking, when no one's watching in terms of that. So I want people to think about passion when you're just passionate about that. That's not a negative thing to be passionate. Passion drives change. And then think about the other word, compassion. It's, compassion means, its Latin derivative means to choose to suffer with others. When you make that sacrifice to be compassionate and suffer with others, you're doing exactly what Jesus is asking us to do every single day. And it's difficult to care about people that maybe have forsake you, people that criticize you. Like you said, we shouldn't gossip, we shouldn't do those things, but yet we do it. And there's nothing that comes, there's no positivity that comes from that. And as Christians, we need to check ourselves to make sure, okay, you know what? Am I really walking the way that I need to walk as a passionate leader for Christ?
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
No, that's so true, because sometimes we do have to check ourselves. When you hang out with certain people, whenever you get into certain conversations, it's so much easier to feed into that energy. Like, I'll give you an example. Whenever I went to go do the police academy, went to the police training, this woman fell and she hurt herself, and like all these, and this just shows how evil people are. Mm-hmm. This woman fell, and whenever we get back to our stations, the group of guys, man, they're just talking about, like, laughing about it. Did you see how she fell? I'm like, guys, really? Can we have some sympathy about this woman? Okay, like that's the thing. Like, it's just so disrespectful, and it seems like some people just don't have morals. But the thing is, if you're in a place of gossip or somebody's just spreading negativity, you don't have to be in that. You don't have to express, you don't have to feed into that energy. You don't have to be around that. What I do, my favorite thing to do is, give me 1 second. I got a phone call. I'll be right back. Because it's like you don't have to feed into it, because people, they want you to feed into it. They want you to feed into that negativity. They want you to be like, hey, talk about this. But whenever you don't talk about it, they think you're weird.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm weird because I don't want to talk bad about somebody. Because how am I going to sit here and talk bad about somebody when I'm not perfect? I am no farther than perfect. I'm not perfect at all. I can't sit here and talk bad about somebody. Yes, if somebody's hurt me, I'll have some grief. I'll be like, okay, well, why'd this happen? But the thing is, it's like, everybody makes mistakes. Yeah. Everybody messes up. So if I'm going to hold a certain image of somebody that's hurt me in the past, and they could be a whole different person from now. Yeah. And that's the thing. That's what creates the bitterness. That's what creates the poison in your heart. And it's hard. Jesus taught it's hard forgiving people. Yeah. But if Jesus can forgive the people that basically crucified him and the people that he helped and they turned his back on him, we can too. We can too.
And I want to say this. On this Father's Day, I reflect about, what it means to be a father. And then I think about our ultimate father and what you just said about forgiveness. And I want people to know this, because it's all about being transparent and being real about our own journey, because we're not perfect. And there's mistakes I've made with you. Mm-hmm. And we have definitely, reconciled that, and both spiritually and in our relationship, and I'm so proud of that. But I'm proud of you for being able to demonstrate what it means to be someone who not just says it but does it. Because it's easy to say, like you just said, it's easy to say, well, I'm going to forgive that person, or I can't forgive that person. And Christ did that every single day that he was on this planet. And he's asking us as Christians to do that. And I think it's very difficult to do, but I think it's the right thing to do. I know it's the right thing to do. I don't care if somebody says I'm wrong. I just know that both biblically in my own study of God every day, and I'm not perfect, that we have to live that way. So again, thank you for demonstrating what it means to show grace and to forgive. And as a father, I'm very, I said this to all of you. I mean, you have a brother and a sister, And I think what's important that people should understand too is that when I reflect on Father's Day, I said this to you before, I've said to all three of you, that the best thing I've ever done in my life, and I've gotten to do a lot of neat things, been very blessed to do a lot of neat things. The best thing that I ever did was to be able to be a part of having children. And I think that's the ultimate gift that a father or mother can have, not because it's Father's Day today, but that our ultimate Father, God, is watching over us and doing and trying to do all the things that we need to do and give homage to Him and His Son.
Yeah, I think you're spot on there, and that's the thing. Like, forgiveness is something that I had to practice, because my mindset in the past was very evil and very hating. So, yes, I did have a lot of hatred towards you growing up. I had a lot of just these ill emotions. But, as I got older, I started to value more family time. I started to realize that, you know what? You're not a bad guy. Everybody makes mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes, okay? And that's what I'm talking. And that's what I was talking about. We're human, but it takes a real man to be like, hey, look, I messed up.
Yeah.
I messed up, but here's how we can progress from here. Here's how we can fix this. It takes a man that can commit to fixing his brokenness and turning it into something beautiful.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what relationship, it can be anything. So I can't sit here and hate you all this time and leave this bitterness in my heart when you're a completely different person. We're always evolving. We're always changing.
Yeah.
I can't sit here and hate you for that. You're trying, and I see that you're trying. I genuinely do. So I praise that for you, because I know you're trying, and I don't hold your mistakes on you anymore. That's not right. And I forgive you. It's like I can't. It's just like we have to practice forgiveness, because people are going to hurt us in our life no matter what. But we have to love those people. We have to love those people. I mean, I'm not saying you have to be best buddies with them, but I'm just saying you have to forgive those people, because if you don't, you're going to have that bitterness in your heart. Yeah. And you're not going to feel fulfilled. And every time you bring up that person, you think about that person, oh, I hate them. And think about it. You're displaying that. The power of your tongue is so powerful. So when you're displaying that negative energy, it's going to come basically back to bite you in the butt. Because I was at a church sermon last night, and my pastor was talking about you reap what you sow. Or you sow what you reap. Yeah. So basically, he gave a great analogy. Basically, if you kill somebody, yes, you will be forgiven by Jesus Christ. He will forgive you if you repent. But you can't go to the Lord and be like, hey, Jesus Christ, he forgave me, so let me out. No, that's not how it works. You still have to pay for your consequences. That's just part of it. Yeah. So.
No, well said. And I think we hope that the viewers out there understand that as a father and son going through this journey, that nobody's perfect.
Nobody's perfect.
And you said, practicing forgiveness, it's another, and that's absolutely spot on. And the other thing is, you got to model it, and you do that too. I mean, you have to, it's the same thing, but you have to kind of model and show people that you're doing that. I will say this, and I'm going to quote another book here only because I don't mean to quote all these books, but I think one of the books that has helped me, in addition to the Holy Bible, is these self-development books, because they have so many parallels to what we're talking about as Christians and wanting to be more obedient to God and being a leader for Christ. And there's a book called Outliers, written by Malcolm Gladwell. And in Outliers is really just a mathematical definition of everything has a sequence. And so when we talk about these moments that you and I have had together, that we've had in the past, or we'll have right now or in the future, everything has a sequence of a moment. Everything has a sequence and a justification for it. And I think it's important to understand as we journey through life and we go through our trials and tribulations and trying to be stronger Christians, understanding that every little sequence has something that's relative to the other in terms of that. And the whole book is really about things don't happen by accident. A case in point would be, for example, in the book, Gladwell talks about, the Beatles came to the United States and appeared on the Ed Sullivan Show in 1964, and they just hit the United States, and it was like, oh my gosh, they're the instant phenomenon, if you will. And But he talks about, well, if you trace the Beatles all the way back to Liverpool in England, they were traveling throughout Europe. They were, for example, they went to Hamburg, Germany one time and did a set for 8 hours. Can you imagine just going there and just playing your music over and over and over again? And Gladwell says that is the 10,000 hour rule. So 10,000 hours, if you haven't heard this rule, it's a phenomenal rule. Anything you do in life, if you do it for 10,000 hours, if you become a Christian, you want to be a stronger Christian, you want to read the Bible, or you want to be successful in your job or your relationships, you have to practice, like you said, you have to practice that. But you have to do it for 10,000 hours. And the theory is, and putting it to practice is, if you do 10,000 hours based on the research, you will probably be an expert. And I say probably because I don't want to be hard and fast, but in those examples, just think about it. Think about anything you do, whether it be a podcast or it be wanting to be a better shooter in basketball or a better golfer. You have to go practice. You have to go do it over. There's a sequence over and over and over again, and then you become very successful at it. And I hope that this first episode, we get to keep doing this together as father and son, as the faith guys, and that we get to you out there, hopefully you'll watch and support us to say we're going to be talking about more things in our life and how it relates, and hopefully it's relatable. Some of these topics are relatable to you out there, and give us feedback on that. But just understand that we're doing our 10,000 hours together as we journey through this. So I'm excited about it.
I'm very excited about it too, because the 10,000 hours is so important, because it's what nobody else sees behind closed doors.
Exactly.
They don't understand what we're doing. They don't understand how much we're putting into our faith and how much we're trying to become better people. And that's the thing also, even with content creation, and because we live in a very new world now, okay? It's so easy to get viral and blow up on social media, make money online. But the thing is, nobody sees the work that you put in. And that's a very beautiful thing. When you're out here grinding, editing videos, doing these things, it's just the things that you're passionate about. You don't look at it as a job, or you don't dread it. You just look at it as a hobby. You love doing it. And that's for the Beatles. They practiced for 8 hours. But man, I bet they absolutely loved it. Obviously, they probably had times where they were drained from it, but they still woke up the next day, let's go practice again for 8 hours, because we love doing this and we're passionate about it. And that's when it comes with anything that you do in life. If you're passionate about something, if you love doing it, go after it. Pursue it. Because God gives us a vision. God gives us such a beautiful vision. Okay? If you feel it in your heart, if you feel it up here, pursue it. Now, I'm not going to say it's going to be easy, but it's about the journey, not the destination. It's about the journey. The journey is so beautiful. So if there's something that you love doing, if there's something you're passionate about, go after it. Because the more that you leave it on the pillow and keep envisioning it and keep not putting it into practice, it's never going to come. So go after the things that God has given you the gifts to. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say. I mean, I had to speak. I had to, but that's it. So.
No, it sounds great. And just remember that we hope to keep doing this together. Just remember, keep chasing your dreams, and don't let anybody tell you can't do something. And we look forward to talking to you guys real soon.
All right, guys. We will see you in the next episode, and we'll see you later, okay?